Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the southeast corner of the map, playing in purple, we got Corvinus 1, playing as the Byzantines. And his opponent in the northwest, playing in red, we got giveuanxiety, playing as the Jushi's Legacy. Welcome everyone to Himeyama. That's the map for today, and we've got two great civilizations, the Jushi Legacy and Byzantines. Of course, coming to you as part of the Sultan's Ascent DLC. And also the map as well, Himeyama. Coming to you with the new DLC, and I wonder whether either player will go for the middle pond. Now, there's only 4 shore fishers. I gotta say, these two civilizations aren't really necessarily renowned for going for docks. Maybe the Byzantine, maybe the... even then, I don't think either of them will go for it, to be honest. I think they're going to focus on land. But we shall see. One thing that's really exciting about this matchup, I've got to say, though, is the flexibility of the Jushi Legacy. The reason why I say that is because like the Jushi Legacy, they definitely take some advantages in terms of eco. The Song Dynasty, second town center, it's all really well and good, especially the farming transition. Can I just say one thing? You look away from the screen for a second, you look back in sort of like the 10-15 minutes when they're itching for food, and they've got like 20 farms. It's kind of crazy with the Song Dynasty. But anyway, that's the eco side of things. I gotta say, Jushi Legacy, I do love their ability to be aggressive. Especially with the Chukunu, the fact they don't need the Song Dynasty to do so. And then get the early palace guards, which, I mean, the early palace guards, I got to say, they're not being used that much. And I suspect the pro players have got, lots to say about that. They've made it's clearly an issue with that unit that they're not making it that much. Maybe it's a civilization matchup issue. Maybe it's the fact that they don't want to overgo or forelook the eco bonuses that the Jushi Legacy get. Now, you might be wondering, what are those eco bonuses? Well, they get the meditation gardens, and the meditation gardens, a landmark you place in a suitable spot, you can get a lot of passive resources. It's an incredible landmark, and especially if you keep it safe from pressure, because the one way to try and deny it a little bit for your opponent is to put pressure on it, and it does reduce the amount of income that comes in. So the Chukunu unit can be pretty strong for Jushi Legacy, especially when you go up against the Byzantines. I mean, by no means is Jushi Legacy's late game particularly bad, but the Byzantines late game just seems to be some of the strongest late game situations you can get in the game. Especially when you factor in olive oil and then a little bit less dependent on gold. Speaking of olive oil, holy moly, he's really gone for those olive groves pretty early here, Corvinus. Kind of interesting build. I've not seen this kind of early movement out to olive groves. I've seen maybe sometimes players go for 1 or 2, like maximum 2, but I've never seen 3 and maybe even more. We'll have to see what the idea here is for Corvinus. Going for the Grand Winery, looking to really maximize olive oil. And we're getting to this situation with Age of Empires where we've had these civilizations for a couple of months now, and I'm sure that people have been optimizing, min-maxing build orders. I wouldn't be surprised to see if this is like some sort of optimal build order to get, I don't know, maybe Keshiks out quickly, or, some sort of mercenary unit. And I mentioned Keshiks very purposefully in that situation because the threat of the Chukunu is very real for the Jushi Legacy. It's a unit that can be feared, and so Keshiks could be a natural choice here for the Byzantines with the Eastern Mercenary contract. It's kind of an interesting way how, some civilizations, they do have the threat of a particular unit that can be pretty scary. For example, the threat of the Janissary from the Ottomans forces the enemies to not really think about cavalry too much, just of, they get ripped apart by these Janissaries. I think actually, interestingly, in a match we just saw, how cavalry kind of suffers against the Nagayari Japanese spearmen. That's maybe a unit that kind of forces a bit of fear into the opponent. Maybe the javelin thrower could be considered in that pool as well. But the Jushi Legacy going up with the Chukunu makes me wonder whether Corvinus will be going for that Eastern Mercenary contract. We'll have to see. There's lots of other options and ways to play it as well. Could be going for Longbowman instead to try and outrange his opponent. But it will be the Grand Winery, getting that 60% extra bonus gathering of olive oil from the berries and the olive groves. And there is that Meditation Gardens, by the way, going to be getting wood and gold, which is kind of an interesting pick because it maybe suggests Chukunu because you kind of, to be fair, it's probably one of the best locations I guess it's got. It's not got the best spawn for it. I mean, you could have gone for food, wood and stone, and I think it's going to be aggression here for Jiwa, I gotta say, because first of all, he's a very aggressive player for number 1, but he's probably going to want to put some pressure on the Byzantines. But more importantly, I feel like the choice of the Meditation Gardens location, like if you're thinking about second town center, this is probably going to be a better spot for it, right? Getting the wood and stone together, it doesn't really seem to be the play, especially when you factor in now there are Chukunu heading out on the map. So that's probably the biggest telltale sign, especially with the double archery range production. So yeah, definitely going to go for the Chukunu. And I don't hate it. I think it's a good way to try and put some pressure on the Byzantines, because once the Byzantines get online with their economy, it can be very scary. When you factor in a sort of direct comparison, like sure, the Jushi Legacy get the meditation gardeners and they do get the imperial official supervising. But bear in mind, if the Byzantines get to the water level 5, like pretty quickly, it can be very scary. Like there's already on 10% extra gathering rate on these villages, and also an extra good production rate on them with the conscriptio upgrade, or the conscriptio, you know, aspect of the system. 10% production. Oh, no, not 10%. It's 20%, sorry, for level 1 and 40% for level 2. So what you don't really want to do is let the Byzantines get a bit crazy with the economy. And, well, Jushi Leg is going to put some pressure. I'd love to see some early aggression. And Giyue, he's known for his aggression. Coming out with the barracks as well. Maybe see palace guards. Possibly. We see a couple of horsemen popping out. Do we see a mercenary house yet? No production actually at all here for Corvinus. Oh no, I take that back. Apologies, it's coming here on this east side. There is that mercenary house, getting a blacksmith and a stable too, and it will be the eastern mercenary contract. So certainly looking to get some keshiks, especially now that he sees the number of a number of those Chukunu coming out. That's a decent number of Chukunu heading out already. Will he be getting an early steeled arrow? Giyue, we'll have to see. Getting double broadaxe for now. Doesn't actually have the blacksmith. And speaking of blacksmith, Corvinus has his one, getting an iron undermesh rather pretty quickly. Question of whether they get the javelin throws in the same contract? No, unfortunately the javelin throws comes in the Silk Road contract. So in this contract you get keshiks, you get gulam, and I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the tower elephant. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a tower elephant. Oh, Chukunu need to back away. It does have one spearman, so it won't be palace guards. I mean, it makes sense to go for spearman with this number of cavalry, right? So the spearman will trade decently, but he's got to think about getting Chukunu away unless that second spearman gets involved. And, well, yeah, Corvinus realizes that second spearman is just a little bit too much there. Can't afford to take a trade against that spearman. It's a very hard counter to the horseman, of course, and Chukunu need to be a bit careful. Oh, there's a lot of cavalry, though. He needs to be careful not to be dived on. There's only one spearman after all. Going to try and kite this, and without steeled arrow, I think this is a good cleanup for Corvinus, especially with the keshiks. Keshiks will focus on the spearman, which is just as well, because the horseman is doing well against the Chukunu. And one more spearman does pop out for Jushi Legacy. Again, it's just not enough. Getting kind of caught here a little bit here, Giyue. Now, bear in mind Giyue's choice of army, right? Chukunu and spearman. The one good thing for Byzantines is if he can hold pretty well, he will have some mobility on the field. And the one thing about Jushi Legacy, without Song Dynasty, it makes the farming transition all that much harder. They don't get cheaper farms this way, right? And so in the next 10-15 minutes, if the Jushi Legacy don't do a lot of damage, they may have to consider farming, because the problem of going up against keshiks and cavalry like this is Corvinus can always peel off a couple, right? He can always try and raid here. If Giyue tries to get this food, he'll have to make it sure it's protected. He'll have to put some outposts at least, because it's very exposed and prone to being attacked. Especially when you've got cavalry like this, that Corvinus can always just peel off 1 or 2 keshiks and cause all sorts of problems. It makes things a bit difficult for the push for Jushi Legacy, because of course they don't have the Song Dynasty necessarily. Not to say they can't get it, and we could just get it later on in the game. In any case, before any of that actually happens, they're going to push out with another group of these Chukunu and spearmen. And bear in mind, with infantry-based army like this, you've got to be careful about not getting caught out. It kind of mirrors the way that English play. If you do get caught out and lose your army, then, well, not only have you just lost your army, you've lost the map control and position. And it does invite a lot of pressure. Steeled Arrow, though, coming in at a good spot. Probably the most important upgrade that Jushi Legacy can get at this point. It really packs a punch for these Jushi Legacy Chukunu. Water level 3 is up for the Byzantines. It's something that maybe Giyue wants to try and deny. Spearmen, got to be careful. They've got to they've got to get onto the horseman, that's for sure. And a couple of archers have been teched into for Corvinus. And this is a decent fight, I think, for the Jushi Legacy. Should do okay, especially if the spearman numbers still live. And yeah, these keshiks aren't going to get too much more value, I don't think. There's a decent number of spearmen. Yeah, he's going to take a great fight here, Giyue, and Corvinus has to go back to the drawing board. Might even lose keshiks on the retreat. That should be okay for now. Or maybe not, actually. No, he took a bad pathing there, and the Chukunu will pick him up. Punished him for it. Chukunu might start to kill some villagers now. This is a good push. A concern for GUA, does he have siege engineering? Can he get a ram quickly enough? Because there's one thing having units in your enemy's base, but there's one thing doing infrastructural damage, and it's going to rely on the spearmen to do so. Bear in mind, I actually love the way that Corvinus has moved his infrastructure here, or actually started his infrastructure here. The reason why is because this is really smart. This is really easy to wall up, right? Just a minimal investment into wood and palisade walls there, and this production is really, really safe. And that's so important to have, because if you can imagine, if his production was on the front lines here, the Chukunu, all they would have to do is just camp on it, right? They would just have to sit on it. Units can't come out. I mean, this archer range, you can see, what would be happening here would be happening to all the other... Look at that, he's literally going to snipe out the archer. Imagine all this production capabilities was on the front like that for Corvinus. And I think this is a big reason why it was big, you know, what separates a lot of the top tier players from, you know, I guess the mid tier players. He's going to go for Steeled Arrow. So looking to maybe get a couple of archers of his own. That's a lot of units coming out for Jushi Legacy. I gotta say, really pumping out units. Gonna send... Wait. What's going on here? He's sending some villagers. Now, there's one thing that I don't necessarily see a lot of players do that I think GUA does really well. Okay, maybe he's not going to do it. I thought for a second he's going to put some outposts. Because one thing you consider is that in Age of Empires, it's not always that easy to kill opponents off, especially when you don't have siege in the form of rams. So, like, you can play all in, but you can also play sensibly all in. And one way to do that is send some villagers to get some outposts, just to make sure that if you are pushed back from the front lines, well, the pushback is a little bit delayed for your opponent. They have to deal with the outposts at least in the meantime. And this is the little bit of aggression we said earlier, peeling away a couple of Keshiks like this. Look at this. This is doing a lot of eco damage, I've got to say. If you think that GUA's done a lot of eco damage, well, ultimately, he hasn't killed all that many villagers, and he's lost more villagers than he's killed. Just let that sink in for a second. Chukununa, they are going on top of the production, so he's gonna. And this is the issue we thought about. If you had the production on the front lines, well, it's happening now, even though they're on the back line. And Chukunu in a good spot. Decent number of... yeah, there's not enough archers here for Corvinus. I was going to say it's a decent number, but I'm not sure it's enough, especially with the spearmen involved. The spearmen do need to back away, though, because the archers will focus on that. It's getting the pocket economy in terms of the shorefish, which is nice. Definitely going to be a nice bit of food income there. But yeah, this is a lot of Chukunu there for GUA. 31 military versus 12. But bear in mind, Corvinus has only lost 2 villagers. He's done a great job of keeping them alive, although there's going to lose a couple more on that wood line. And that wood is pretty exposed. It's starting to get a bit overwhelming here for Corvinus. Needs to find a way to secure this area. This is looking a bit tricky. It will clear up the Chukunu numbers, which is certainly helpful. The question is, where does he go from here? Like, he's kind of struggling a little bit, Corvinus. He's going to need to try and get the economy back in line and in a good way. Good thing, though, is it does have an olive grove transition, which we're getting not only food, but also olive oil, of course, and be able to get a couple of mercenaries. Yeah, the archers are pushing this back. He's actually started to consolidate here a little bit, Corvinus, so I love this threat. Like, he's not actually going to win this fight. He's never going to take this fight, by the way. But he's always pushing out, making sure that maybe GUA thinks about maybe retreating a little bit. GUA, though, he's not taking the bait. He's moving forward. He's going to engage, and rightly so. The number of Chukunu he's got now is really good, and he should be able to take out the horsemen even. As long as the spearmen get involved. I mean, they're taking their sweet time. Spearmen, hello, charge, please. They do now. But this is a decent fight, I think, there for Corvinus. Just needs to hold time and find a way to get an outpost up, and that's what he's doing now. And needs the outpost quickly. Now, he will be able to get arrow slits, but the question is, will he get up in time? He's going to pick away a couple of those spearmen, and that's actually crucial, by the way. It allows the horsemen to do what they need to do. There's only one so far, but still, that will help, although the spearmen do get involved now, and this is looking rough. I mean, he will get the outpost up. He needs to garrison quickly. He does do just that, and he gets arrow slits very, very quickly. I mean, that's what he needs to do at this point. And I think maybe a couple more outposts, and he should be okay here, Corvinus. The only real big problem for Corvinus at this situation is the decision-making from GUA. He's got 2 options. He can continue to be aggressive, could look to get some siege engineering upgrades and some rams, which I think possibly he could be doing with the amount of wood he's got floating at the moment. But bear in mind, is also with the Tang Dynasty, it makes the tech up a little bit cheaper. In fact, I say a little bit, it's a lot cheaper. To get to the castle age, he's only going to need... Well, let's take a look. He'd only need 1,020 food and 510 gold. It's a significant saving. Oh, pushing a couple of villages off of barriers. That's a good pick-off. It was a bit greedy there by Corvinus going to the barriers on the front without an outpost, and he's going to be idle for now. Chukunu numbers still good, but this is a good clean up here for Corvinus. I've got to say, Chukunu numbers, they're decent, but they're kind of caught into two armies, and oh, that's going to be a couple of Chukunus running into the town centre there. That's unfortunate. Gets a good surround with the Keshiks, and bear in mind, of course, the Keshiks do regenerate a little bit of HP when they attack. Yeah, this is an interesting. Whilst it looks a bit overwhelming, there's a lot of units coming up for the Jushi Legacy. He's not doing critical damage. Like, factoring he's killed 6 villagers. Corvinus has killed 3. And all this time, the system has been at a decent water level. Granted, it's down to 2 now. Still getting those olive groves. I wonder whether GUA starts to mass up units, get some rams and pushes. Or where does he... I mean, this looks like what he's going to do, really, at this point. Spending everything he's got. Not really saving anything for a rainy day. But we are getting to that phase of the game where Corvinus military numbers are looking pretty healthy. And what he could do is peel away some cavalry. Wait, is he doing that now? Yeah, he's doing that now on the south. Look at this. Again, going for that deer camp. He got some value last time, remember. Don't forget how much value he got. And he's going to get some more. And again, there's no army here, right? It just takes too long for the Jushi Legacy to bring that. I mean, he can't bring the army back at this point, right? He's going to have to rely on newly produced units. And the good thing for him is that the production buildings right there, which certainly helps. Villagers coming forward, though, which is curious. Yeah, but he brings the army back now. But this is so great. The reason why this small amount of army here for Corvinus. Okay, he may not have killed any villagers, but what he has... Well, he might get some villagers here, actually. But the biggest benefit of this is this. It's caused GUA to bring all those units back, and the impending push is completely stopped. Now, factoring earlier, we had the decision-making here. Could GUA go to the castle age, or could he push? Well, he's done neither. And he's done neither, not because he chose to do neither. It's because Corvinus made him pull those units back. To be fair, he chose to pull those units back, but he gave another thing to think about. So Corvinus was then forced into 3 decisions. Does he go for a push? Does he go for castle age? Or does he bring the units back to deal with that threat? And if that threat wasn't there, that third option, that third decision wouldn't have had to been made. I do love the outpost, though. We talked about it earlier, how when you do have a bit of aggression, a bit of map control, securing it up like that can be very nice. Oh, he's pushing forward now. Chukunu. That's a strong number of them. 60, though, for GUA. So whilst we're saying he wasn't either pushing or castle age, I take it back now, because in a blink of an eye, he's pushing once again. But I would love to see a ram. The reason why is because it's very difficult when you're up against rams. Your opponent has to decide. And to be fair, they don't really have much of a decision. They have to take your army out first. And it means the ram can get value. The spearman about to brace against the horseman. The horseman back away for now. Good numbers of archers here for Corvinus. I think he should be okay. If he can take out the spearman numbers, then the cavalry will do their work. And he does have Keshiks coming in. A good amount of olive oil income. Especially with the olive groves. There's still a decent, healthy number of spearmen, though. He's going to have to back away, Corvinus. Doesn't quite have enough. I think that might be hurting Corvinus a little bit, is that he has had to do this olive grove transition. No real food on the map to gather for him. The same cannot be said for GUA. He's getting plenty of food on the map. He might lose a water level 3 now, going back down to 2 soon. Oh, more olive groves coming up. Having to back away for now. And the biggest value that GUA is getting is mostly keeping up the idle time, right? He's causing a lot of idle time for Corvinus, rather. Here comes Spearman again, once again. That's a lot of archers, though. I mean, he's okay for this. If the Spearmen don't brace, Corvinus got to be careful about those Spearman numbers. That's looking deadly, those numbers. He does back away for now. Archer's going to pick away the Spearman first, and is fighting underneath the town centre again without rams. And this push looks scary from GUA, but ultimately it's just really not without rams. Corvinus should be able to defend, even with less numbers. Don't forget, he's got the static defences to rely on, to fall back to. Sure, he'll lose down to water level 2. But again, it's not all that bad. If he can just survive in the next 5-10 minutes, he'll be good, because it looks like maybe GUA might be starting to run out of food soon on the map. We'll need to have a farming transition. And with that farming transition, it means that the pressure can't keep up like this. Although, maybe have a little bit more time if he can get the deer camp here, if he's greedy about it, which, to be fair, there's no reason why he can't. Corvinus moving back a little bit more and going back to the back wood line. But again, I think factoring the way he put his setup here, Corvinus, in the back, it's really helped him out. Because for the second stage of the game, if this was a situation where GUA was camping on top of that, he wouldn't be able to build up the unit numbers. Now GUA is having to force his way through and try and fight underneath 2 outposts, which is not ideal. Corvinus, though, pushing out with a couple of archers, which is a brave move, but I think it's a good move. And the reason why I think it's a good move is because there's no cavalry on the field for GUA, right? So the threat of being surrounded isn't necessarily an issue as long as he can run away from those Chukunu, which he's going to have to do now. Although he's microing, he's stopping and fighting, which does mean the Chukunu will catch up when he does stop. But again, as long as he micros this well, he's pulling away a couple in the north and pulling away a couple in the west. And I think at this point with this army, he's probably going to look to do some eco damage, right? Try and kill some villagers. I don't think he can win the fight. And so if he can't win the fight, get as much value as he can. He's going to go for the villagers here on the deer camp. The deer camp has now been taken all completely. So he switches his attention to that wood line. That's a juicy wood line to go for. Wait, he might get a lot of value here. Wait, he's going to get a lot of value here. There's only 2 Chukunu. That's absolutely huge. He didn't read that properly, GUA. He didn't get as many as he wanted to pursue. Oh my god, this is a huge pickoff. He gets the Imperial official first. In the north, he's getting value there. He's getting some villagers on the deer camp. On the front line, GUA is pushing hard. Now he's starting to take out the infrastructure. Going for the house first, though, curiously enough. Forcing Corvinus to spend the wood on more production. And he's going to go for the Zhongnang Tower, go for the Song Dynasty, and I think GUA is going to have to get a farming transition. I think that's the reason why he's going for the Song Dynasty. It's got to be, right? It has to be. And this is the situation we were talking about earlier in the cast, where there comes a point where the feudal age push, whilst it's great, the food on the map does dry up, and it does mean you need to transition onto farms, and that farming transition means that, well, the pressure can't keep continuing. It eases up a little bit. I've got to say, though, if you're gonna get a farming transition, I think the Jushi Leg is probably one of the best civilizations to do it with the Song Dynasty. Incredibly cheap farms. I mean, of course, you've got the English as well, but Jushi Legacy's farms are something else. Speaking of farms, though, Corvinus already dealt with that problem. He did it slowly, methodically. He's already got a lot of olive groves up and running. Now, the scary thing for Corvinus, though, is going to be up against GUA's farming transition, and then quite possibly a castle age. I can't imagine GUA is going to push in too much more now, because he hasn't had much value yet. As I say that, it's very difficult to read GUA, I've got to say. There's a handful of players, and Corvinus being one of them as well, that you can't really read very easily. He's doing it once again. He's getting cavalry in the north. They can deny the sources of food that he still has available. And that's the benefit of having cavalry, ladies and gents. The mobility, it's so crucial. Even when you're under all this pressure, players like Corvinus, the high-level players, they do have the presence of mind to do this. And it makes a big difference. He's holding firm. Jushi Legacy, though, he's got 87 military, which is kind of insane when you think about it. But some of it's on the west side, some of it's on the front, and without siege. I mean, he could just dive. But I mean, Corvinus has got a decent number. You know, he's got a decent number of units, 55. And he's got some outposts and static defenses, so he should be fine. It doesn't really feel like GUA is going to kill him off anytime soon. And it's a kind of an interesting game, I've got to say. It's not easy to read. I think the play here for Jushi Legacy is to get the Castle Age and get the veterancy units. And the problem for Corvinus then is, will he be able to match it or not? It becomes difficult. Yeah, the Limitane there, but by the way, can I say one thing? This unit, this position, is a great play here by Corvinus, because he's going to be using that drop shields ability, the shield wall ability, and it means that the Chukunu, if they focus on the Limitane, it takes too long to kill them. I mean, okay, they'll kill them eventually, but it just buys so much time. What it allows the archers for the Byzantines to do is to get their DPS. It gets them to do their shots and whittle down the number of Chukunu, and all of a sudden, with the Limitane, the Byzantines are pushing out. I'm sure he's not going to win the fight overall. The reinforcements coming in a little bit quicker there for the Jushi Legacy, but take a look at the numbers. It used to be double military numbers, but Corvinus, he's definitely dented into that. The Limitane getting so much value. I mean, he's not got enough to one-shot. Oh, no, it depends which group you look at, but the Limitane buying him so much time. Okay, well, the Castle Age coming in for the Jushi Legacy, and it does have a small farming transition. Gonna go with the Shaolin Monastery. Now, what this does allow the Jushi Legacy to do is get some of those relics. This is a scary amount of olive groves. The unit number is about to spike here for the Byzantines, with the mercenaries coming into the fray as well. And you can see he's getting some more already. And I think Corvinus has done this really well throughout the game. I think it's been 3 or 4 moments where he's peeled away a couple of units. And he'll lose the units, sure. But look at how many units he's brought away from his opponent. He recognizes the timing. He knows that it's likely that the castle age will be coming in. And Corvinus, he's not really that close to the castle age. But with this olive grove transition, the food income should be strong. And yeah, it's about 1,000 per minute. He won't be too far away. And again, this is so critical, guys. 5 archers bring away this number of units. Let me tell you now, you definitely want those units being here at the back for the Juicy Legacy than being right in front of your face. And so, yeah, this is great for Corvinus, I've got to say, in many ways. It's been under so much pressure. More farming transition coming in. At this point, though, I've got to say, pretty even. GUA, if you can get some of those relics and really start to compound the eco, could be looking in a good spot, but the Byzantines' late game can be pretty strong. I think it would be nice to see Corvinus get a market. I think, did he just get a market? I was about to say, it would be good to see him get a market and trade. Yeah, there it is, yeah. Because he was floating a little bit of gold, and it'll allow him to get the castle edge a little bit quicker, which is what he needs to do really quite urgently, because when you tech up, you have this window of doing damage, and well, it's when you get the veterancy upgrades. GUA has got them in now, for the Chukunu at least. He's going to get them for the Spearman too, and so Corvinus, he needs to survive for the next 2-3 minutes. He needs to survive so he can get the veterancy upgrades for his own units. Going to go up with the Golden Horn Tower. It's certainly the obvious choice in this scenario. I think it's the only choice. I don't think we ever see the other landmark, to be honest. But it gives them the free mercenary units, and it's going to be incredibly strong. Getting water level 4 as well. I wasn't expecting to see that. I was kind of thinking he might do that, go for the extra water level. And the reason why this is so crucial, by the way, sure, it boosts the economy, but for me personally, in this situation where he needs units, and he needs it fast, the fact that now, not this one, forget this one, he switched over to dialectics. We don't look at that, we look at somewhere else. We look at this one, right? Oh god, okay, scrap it. Because I was hoping for him to be on Conscriptio. And what that would do is give him the 80% production speed, right? That's a lot of Chukunu. He's starting to push further forward, and Byzantine's economy is looking strong. Look at the olive groves. That's a lot of olive groves. 40 in total. Again, GUA, he doesn't believe in rams. He does not want to get them. The concern for Corvinus, though, he might be cut off gold pretty soon, and you need gold for castle age units, for the heavily armored units. The big scary situation for GUA, though, is if maybe some Varangian guards could come out. The Byzantines obviously going to tech up with his units that he currently has, with the veterancy of the archers, which he does now have. Going to take a great fight here. Spearman numbers are a little bit less relevant. They're not having that many, and if they get taken out by the archers, the Keshiks will jump on top of the veteran archers, or the veteran Chukunu, I should say. And he does have a couple of Varangian guards. This is so good, and especially having the second archer armor upgrade, Wedge Rivets, that makes such a big difference with the Varangian guards. Archers versus Chukunu, but he does have 1 or 2 of these heavily armored. This is going to be a great fight for Corvinus. Sure, the Byzantines are on the back foot, but that back foot involves reinforcements coming in very fast. And here come more Keshiks, and all of a sudden it's GUA that's on the back foot. The big problem for him is he can't run away. Those Keshiks are going to chase him down. There's other couple of palace guards, but again, the heavily armored units coming out for Corvinus rather, are going to be a big problem. And all of a sudden the game has switched, the pendulum has swung, and Corvinus is held on for so long, and boy oh boy is he pushing back now. 81 economy versus 75, which is relatively even. But don't forget one thing, olive oil coming in clutch here for Corvinus. Waterloo coming off. He doesn't back it. He doesn't get it. But we'll buy him some time. The Shaolin monks need to get out of there. And well, all of a sudden, GUA with his back against the ropes. 25 miniature versus 46, and without those static defenses, he wasn't. This is the first time he's being pressurized. He does have an SDB, so Corvinus has got to be careful. He does have a couple of cavalry. I think he should be okay if the armored units can jump on that SDBs. He just got to be careful though. It does get a couple of arrows, a couple of hits there with the SDBs. Going to jump on it now. The body blocking not. I mean, he's getting a horseman on top of it. You got to be careful. Wait, this could be big. Next shot coming up. He's repairing with the villagers here. Juicy Legacy does get another shot off on the archers. Will he be able to keep up that? Nesta B is alive or not? He does lose it in the end. That's a big pick off there by Corvinus. It's not to be underestimated. 1 or 2 more volleys on these archers could have taken them out, and he does have a couple of palace guards coming out. Juicy Legacy, which is certainly what he needs to do. But with the number of Varangian guards already on the field, the Byzantines really starting to push hard. And bear in mind, there's no relics garrisoned in just yet for the Juicy Legacy, so That tech up hasn't necessarily helped him all that much, and Villager's going to try and repair that nest of bees once again, but 3 Varangian guards. Will he take it out? Is he actually doing more damage than it is being repaired? No, he's being out-repaired, I think. Yeah, he's got to back away, Corvinus, before he can lose too many more archers, but he's splitting them up, which is a great way to do some good eco damage. He's starting to lose numbers, though. That nest of bees coming in clutch. He's killing villagers first. And I get close with the horseman. He's going to dive on top of that. Spearman coming out for Jushi Legacy. Bear in mind, though, 5 of those villagers are idle there for GUA, and Corvinus, he's killed 41 villagers so far. That is absolutely an incredible number, considering how much pressure he's been under. That is absolutely phenomenal. And that economy now looking stronger for the Byzantines. Makes things very tricky for Jushi. Now, Jushi does have a strong farming eco, but not quite as strong as the Byzantines. And bear in mind, this is relatively exposed. I don't think GUO is banking on being pushed back here. Now, mass nest of bees, or I wouldn't say mass, but 2 at least, it might force Corvinus into a siege workshop. We shall see if he's going to be so bold as to go through without a siege workshop or not. Now, Varangian guards can do well. He might just trust himself here, Corvinus. He doesn't want to let up on the pressure, which is understandable. But a good amount of resources coming for Corvinus. We'll lose those units, or maybe not. He's keeping an eye on it. He paid attention. Going to the north spot, and behind this, Corvinus coming in with a relic and a second one too. And the fact that he can focus on all of this and get a relic at the same time is really, really impressive. And it's something that's overlooked. Like, he's making sure that he gets the basics right. He's getting the relics in behind this, and it means that even if he does lose the next fight, the map control he's gained has not been for nothing. He's gathered 2 relics in the meantime. The same can be said, though, for the Jushi Legacy. He managed to get 2 for himself. That's 4 nest of bees. That's looking kind of scary to deal with without any springalds. Unless he messes up and doesn't protect them. Does have a massive spearman. He's getting on top of those nest of bees, though. Keep them protected at all costs. Corvinus just going in there on the back line with the horseman. Using that mobility, it's so powerful. There's a second town centre coming up for GUA. Trying to build up that village account once again. Not a bad idea at all, because he needs to make sure it doesn't get taken out in terms of economy. Nest of bees deployed. Does take out a couple of cavalry, but again, bring guards. They can do well against nest of bees. They don't die instantly like archers do. And it's going to keep a lot of the farming transition idle. Now, this is great for Corvinus, pulling his opponent left, right, and centre. Although that second volley, though, okay, that did take out a lot of the Varangian guards. Got to be careful here, Corvinus, not to lose too many units, though. Because if he does, well, that will allow Jushi Legacy to build up an army again. Does still have 3 nest of bees. Going to try and get some walls up. Some of the walls have already been built, but it's going to buy some time. Will it be enough time? Corvinus' economy looking really strong. Take a look at 2,000 food per minute coming in. 600 olive oil. And there's a lot of spearmen for Jushi Legacy. They do embrace, well, they do brace against the horsemen. But the Varangian guards, they're going to rip through the spearmen. The Varangian guards making a huge difference here. Nest of bees, they're going to get sniped out. He didn't protect them well enough. He loses 1. About to lose a second, and even the 3rd maybe. And this is what we said, like, having nest of bees is great, but if you don't protect them, that is the big mistake that might lose that fight for GUA. He might have lost the fight anyway, keeping them. Still 3 more nest of bees. He needs to keep on. Wait. He's going further forward. No. Back away. Varangian guards might get them. And Corvinus, he's forcing the mistakes out for GUA. Got cavalry on the farming transition. He needs to protect the farmers, but he also needs to protect the nest of bees. And looks like he might be able to do neither, because villagers are going down. Nest of bees are going down. The Byzantines starting to get a really big foothold. Peels away 3 Keshiks. They're going to take another nest of bees. And those are very expensive units. He doesn't even need the spring walls in the end. I might do. He'll take out 1 nest of bees with the spring walls. They did their job. They earned their worth. There's a lot of crossbows on the field, though, for the Jushi Legacy. That will deal against the Keshiks and the Varangian guards. But don't forget, Corvinus did take up to the veteran archers. So veteran archers against crossbows should do okay. Especially with the springles to take out any of the nest of bees. And GUA down to 73 villagers. Down to 28 military. I'm not so sure there's a way back from here. He's completely overrun. I mean, he's just constantly being poked and prodded. And bear in mind, what this allowed Corvinus to do is get precious resources off the map. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him go on to Deer. Well, to be fair, he doesn't need to. He just doesn't even need to go into Deer. He's got so many olive groves. Oh no, he's decimating villages on that wood line. GUA wasn't able to pay attention in all spots, and well, he's focusing on the front line here. microing as much as he can, but take a look, he's losing villagers down to 65. Lost 70 so far, and Corvinus getting so much value. Again, he's pulling the army back in this position, but again, this army's done what it's needed to do. Got so much value, and killing villagers now, what he's allowed Corvinus to do is to build up once again for another strong push, and if he can get some siege, this is a big problem for GUA. Now, it's not down and out. He could potentially look to get some outposts. He does have Song Dynasty, so outposts will be cheaper. The problem for him is if Corvinus decides to go for a lot of siege, that can be difficult to push. Push away, at least. Now, with this map control, I wonder whether the Byzantines will look to try and get some of those sacred sites. It is almost level 5, which is so scary, guys, because not only is it strong for the economy, but the production as well. 100% production increase. And also, the extra 25% on those villagers. We're going to start to see some Chirosyphons. Looks like the Byzantines, they're going to be fighting with fire, quite literally. Loses a Springald, and GUA, he has a decent number of units, but I don't think it's enough. 67, especially when you factor in Mangonels. There's so many Springalds there for Corvinus. The siege mash looking quite scary. This is the one thing that GUA didn't do, and that was get rams. I'm sure he's only got one, but still, that's enough. Mangonel deploys on the crossbows. Crossbows just about back away. Takes a little bit of HP off on 2 Springals there. Might snipe out the Springals. I mean, there's 3 versus 2 there at the end of the day. Corvinus should be able to win that. In fact, it's 4 versus 2. With good micro, he snipes out both Springals. That's absolutely huge. I think one still survives. No, it goes down now. Bringing Guards looking good numbers. Even with that number of crossbows, just the sheer numbers here. The Bringing Guards, they overrun the Byzantines. Corvinus, he managed to survive for so long under so much pressure. And in the end, the tables turned. The roles reversed, and the Byzantines, they rule on Himeyama.